Deep state danger. As politicians call for the nation to unite in the wake of Donald Trump's landslide victory over Kamala Harris, there may be a darker, more sinister effort at play by forces determined to sabotage Donald Trump's agenda. Here with more is Paul Steidler. He's senior fellow at the Lexington Institute, a public policy think tank based in Arlington, Virginia. Paul, the FBI has announced charges in an Iranian assassination plot against Donald Trump. Is this a prelude to something bigger? How great is the threat now to Donald Trump's life prior to his January 20th inauguration?
Well, all threats, especially from a nation state like Iran to the president's life, need to be taken extremely seriously. And all the stops should be pulled out as far as protection of the president goes.
Well, I know that you maintain that the deep state is plotting to sabotage Trump. First, for our viewers who may not know what you mean by deep state, who is the deep state? What are they plotting?
Right. Well, at the Lexington Institute, Gary, we've looked at the presidential appointments process here. And that process for several decades in Washington has been broken. Left unchecked, President Trump is going to have to wait 6 months to a year to have many of his key appointees confirmed by the U.S. Senate to important positions. This is a trend that's been going on for about 40 years. And it's very important at this point that the president-elect be aware of this, which he certainly seems to be, move very expeditiously on appointments, which he's taken the first steps here. And once those appointments are named and once they're given to the Senate, those appointments should be voted on within a 30-day period. That's an eminently reasonable period of time for a hiring decision to be made. And it's also in the nation's best interest to have that done. These people are going to play extremely important roles in the government. They're going to be responsible for overseeing trillions of dollars in spending. They're going to be responsible for overseeing the 4.4 million federal civilian and military employees in the federal government. And those are people who will have been selected by President Trump, and they can make the rest of the bureaucracy work as it should and call out bad actors who are in there. So without those actions, those bad actors are going to have more leeway.
Well, you lay out 3 steps that the Trump team needs to take during the transition. First, you say he must immediately prepare and vet administration nominees now. Don't wait until January. What do you think so far, his efforts 1 week after the election?
Well, so far, so good. The president, for example, recently named, or 2 days ago, named Gail Slater, a woman who works for Senator J.D. Vance, to head up the transition at the Federal Trade Commission. That's an area that's become highly politicized. She's very well respected by both Democrats and Republicans. And So that, as an example, is a very good move. In general, the president has moved much more quickly than 8 years ago when he was elected. As you may recall, 8 years ago, there was drama with Chris Christie heading up the transition and him getting fired. There was infighting between some Republican National Committee operatives and the Trump team. He doesn't have those distractions right now, so he can move forward very quickly and expeditiously. He also has experience of being in the government and knowing the important roles of these different people, be it at the FTC, the Department of Justice, you name it, as far as departments go.
Yeah, nothing like experience to learn from. Now, you say he must prioritize key positions, so which ones should he focus on initially? Which ones, in your opinion, are the most crucial?
Well, some of them are obvious, the Department of State, Department of Defense, and CIA heads. But we also think it's very important that he take a look at the people who are overseeing business issues in the Department of Commerce, at the Federal Trade Commission, and at the Department of Justice, especially in its antitrust division. These are supposed to be nonpartisan entities that are focused on making the American economy function optimally. At the FTC, for example, which its basic business is to adjudicate legal matters, its chair became the activist and the point person for saying that the reason grocery prices had gone up is somehow grocery executives decided to price gouge everybody starting in February of 2021. So that has to be cleaned up. It has to be cleaned up quickly. And it certainly looks from the actions this weekend that the president is aware of that. He seems very tuned in on transition issues. And we would, urge him to prioritize those appointments, especially at defense, especially at entities like the Federal Trade Commission, and to continue what he's doing and to really accelerate that process.
Okay, we'll see if the president-elect takes your advice, Paul. Paul Steidler, Senior Fellow at the Lexington Institute, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
It was great to be with you, Gary.
Up next, a former CIA whistleblower weighs in on the threat to President-elect Trump's life and agenda and explains how he should proceed in dismantling the deep state.